Hey folks, welcome back to the Carl Zahn Show. Happy to have you here. Episode 11, unfolding before your very eyes. What a week we've had in the college campuses all across the country, so we're going to get into that stuff a little bit. But first and foremost, I have to talk about the Kristi Noem debacle, dog debacle. So right out the gate, I've always thought Kristi Noem was pretty cool, a lot of backbone. She's got that whole Midwest, upper Midwest farmer, cowgirl, cowboy thing going on. And I think she's been a super effective leader. And she certainly had a lot of promise. I think it's safe to say she was pretty high on the potential VP list for Donald Trump. And then a week or so ago, she comes out with this, I guess she just did a book. And of course, in the book, I'm sure it's a whole bunch of things, but in the book, she boasts about shooting a dog in the face. So it's kind of a study in how to destroy a political career in one fell swoop. I think this is what's happened. I don't know that it will affect her political career in her home state, but I think it takes her off the VP possibility list because it's just so off the top, over the top. So she talks about this dog, Cricket the untrainable dog, she writes, behaved like a trained assassin. She talks about grabbing Cricket, and the dog whipped around to bite me, but she explains in the book her thought process for why she put this in the book and basically said she shot a dog in the face. And she went on to say that she says her story about the ill-fated Cricket was to illustrate her willingness in politics as well as in South Dakota life to do anything, quote, difficult, messy, and ugly. But I thought she had already proven that with the alleged affair with Corin Lewandowski. I mean, that's definitely doing something difficult, messy, and ugly. So I thought she had already made that point. I'm not sure she had to shoot a dog in the face to underscore it. But it's kind of interesting because it goes back to this kind of, this whole dog thing. If you remember back in 2012, Mitt Romney, presidential nominee, was pilloried, rightfully so, for tying his dog Seamus to the roof of a family car on a cross-country family trip. I don't know. You're driving around 70 miles an hour with a golden lab strapped to your roof rack, and that definitely did a lot of damage to Mitt Romney. And I think that Kristi Noem is going to maybe suffer the same fate here. It's just almost unthinkable to me that you put that in a book. I mean, I'm a dog lover. I don't know many people that aren't dog lovers. And in the last 10 or 15 years or so, dog ownership in this country, and again, I love dogs, but it has come to almost a pathological level of, the money that people spend on their pets. Veterinarian bills now are right in line with human medical costs. And the money that people spend on their pets for luxury dog foods and luxury dog beds. And we all know this dog ownership thing has gone off the hook crazy. And again, not criticizing it because I love dogs, but there are a growing number of people that dogs are like kids. I've had people tell me that, this is our baby. This is what we did instead of having kids. It's like having kids, which my answer is, no, it's nothing like having kids. It's a dog. And, dogs don't go to college. Dogs don't. It's just, where would I begin to talk about the differences between owning and caring for a dog and raising and parenting children. So just another sign of where we are in this country. But I think this Kristi Noem thing is just fascinating. She's super smart. There's no question about that. She tried to backtrack out of this a little bit by saying, well, the line about I wanted to show I can do difficult and messy and ugly things. Like I said, she already proved that with Cohen Lewandowski. And then she tried to back out of it by saying, well, this is part of farm life. We have to put down horses and cattle and stuff like that. But no, it's not. I'm not even sure most people can equate to farm life on that level. And even if they did, why you would want to go into it. But it's not the same as, saying I shot a dog in the face because he was just the worst dog ever. So I don't know, man. She may continue on in South Dakota because she has a lot of promising aspects, good sense of humor, super smart, and a backbone. Like I said, politically, I have admired her, but I think she's done. And listen to politics or politicians, talk about violence to animals. It's pretty much the one-way ticket to no man's land. So Kristi Noem, R.I.P. The Carl Zahn Show, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. CDC came out with some interesting numbers this week on the 3 leading causes of death. Now, we all know in the United States that the average median expected life span is lowering. We're such an unhealthy nation. And it's interesting, they came out with new numbers this week. The 3 leading causes for men under the age of 65, heart disease, cancer, and Boeing whistleblower, number 3. So for those that haven't heard, a second Boeing whistleblower, and I think this guy was in his 40s, and I don't know the details yet of exactly what happened, but a second notorious whistleblower from Boeing has expired. This is, if you've watched the show and other episodes, you know that I'm kind of fascinated with the Boeing thing as a private pilot, but it's kind of beyond that. I've just always thought Boeing was a remarkable company, the best of the best, in business for ages, really has been in business through the whole arc of aviation in this country, and designed, built, and flew for decades some of the most incredible aircraft ever. 747, the original 737, all the planes they built during the World War II effort, and were able to pump them out in these airplanes that were just about indestructible. And now they've got, famously, the Boeing with the door blowing off mid-flight. There was one last week where an emergency slide deployed during flight kind of blew out. The over-the-wing emergency slide blew out, and they had to return to the airport with this huge rubber raft flapping in the wind at 400 miles an hour. The optics are getting really bad for Boeing. And now this second whistleblower has passed away, which, as I mentioned, puts the leading cause of death, Boeing whistleblower, just a notch above fentanyl overdoses. Maybe someone at Boeing should shoot a dog in the face just to kind of get a distraction going. And speaking of distractions, what a wonderful couple weeks it's been watching our elite students at all our Ivy League universities protest in favor of Hamas. This is another kind of brainwashing thing. And as my friend and brilliant comedian Dennis Miller used to say years ago, when it comes to brainwashing half the American public, only a light rinse is required. And this was demonstrated in full bloom in the last couple of weeks with these college protests. And to be fair, when I was 18, and I looked back at some of the positions I held and some of the, issues that I got behind, and I'd be embarrassed to even mention them now because they were so dopey. So, I'm cutting a lot of these kids slack because, they're dopey kids and they're going to Ivy League universities and they're part of the indoctrination. And again, to be fair, I think, there's a very, very small segment of the college population. There's certainly plenty of kids there that just want to go to class. They just want to get their education done. And now graduations are getting canceled and classes are getting canceled. So it would even be hard to keep up. I mean, let me put it this way, to keep up with the idiocy that I am seeing from some of these students at all these different campuses, with the encampments and the Habibs and all this stuff, to keep up with that idiocy would be like trying to, bail out the Titanic with a teaspoon as it was sinking. I mean, you just can't even possibly keep up with it. But one of the most striking ones was this young girl who was speaking. I'm sure most people have seen it. She was speaking outside Hamilton Hall after these students had broken into Hamilton Hall at Columbia and were holding like 3 janitors hostage. She came out and did a speech, and she said she was, they were pleading for humanitarian aid. These were her words, humanitarian aid. So obviously a major disconnect between the notion of humanitarian aid, which is like, war-torn countries, countries where wars are going on and people can't get food and water because of a battle and military stuff. Humanitarian aid to maybe Haiti after an earthquake or a flood, but humanitarian aid to a bunch of spoiled rich kid Ivy League students at Hamilton Hall. Like, we're going to airlift, helicopter in, high protein sandwiches and Perrier water. And so she went on to say, and this poor girl, it kind of felt bad for her, the deeper she got in, and these reporters were asking her questions saying, but, are you out of food and water? She said, well, no. Has anyone denied you food and water? She said, no, but we're looking for a commitment that they'll let us bring food and water in non-violently. So again, it's like, I don't even know what that means. They're going to non-violent DoorDash for protesters who have voluntarily barricaded themselves into a privately owned college business, and they want humanitarian aid. I don't even know what non-violent food delivery looks like. Well, I guess I know what non-violent food delivery looks like. That's DoorDash. I don't know what violent food delivery like, but I don't know. Maybe DoorDash for people with a violence fetish. I'd like the 12-inch Subway sub, meatball sub, and then I'd like you to beat the shit out of me with the sub when you get here to my door. I know it sounds odd, but I like it. And if there's any way you could bring stale bread, it gives you a little bit more of a crisp, when you hit me across the head with it. I mean, we are awash in idiocy in this country. And again, I cut a little slack because I look back at myself at that age, and God rest my parents. If they were here, they would tell you I was a full-blown AAA moron for many years. I mean, bad judgment was my forte from like 18 to 21. So I give these kids a little bit of slack, and I also understand that this is part of how they've been indoctrinated. But this underlying thing of the complete denial of October 7th, the difference between Hamas and just Palestinians and Israel, but what happened on October 7th, much of which is so graphic, they couldn't even show it on any kind of regular news outlets. We were talking about this with friends last night and saying that, oh yeah, there's video out there of the babies in ovens and the violent rapes of not just women, but men. Some 80-year-old woman got raped and then they gouged her eyes out. I mean, it was a horrific, animalistic attack on Israeli citizens at like a music festival. And yet this whole army of young students just, they either don't believe it or don't accept it or they're not interested. And, if you kind of step away from the whole lunacy of the whole thing, you have to look at it and say, yeah, this is pretty concerning. These are students from our most revered institutions, so you would think that there's some pretty smart people there, or pretty smart young people. But what I see is just absolute morons, Someone should look back and see if the Pelosi's had made any major investments in Habib stock 6 months ago, because these are the only people making out in this whole thing is whoever is producing all these ridiculous scarves and headdresses that the Ayatollah Khomeini wore. And wouldn't it be ironic if it turned out those were made in China? Because those are the people making out the street vendors. Like all of a sudden, everybody's got these things, so they must be just pumping out these Habibs. I'm surprised that Mike Lindell missed out on this, because Mike Lindell's on top of all of this stuff. He's got the pillows, he's got the slippers, he's got the sheets, the bath towels, and I mean, why not my Habib? I don't understand. Someone, if you got a contact number from Mike Lindell, I'd like to talk to him about that, because I feel like he's missing a real opportunity here. I was going to wear one for the show today, but I couldn't find one in the town where I live, unfortunately. I was going to wear a mask and a Habib and just do the whole show that way, because not to mock anybody, but just in a show of solidarity. So yeah, Kristi Noem shooting dogs in the face, the untimely demise of poor cricket in South Dakota. It's going to be really interesting, at least for me as a political walk, to see how this unfolds for Kristi Noem. She does have a lot of capital in the bank because she's well-liked, and I think her political prowess has been pretty impressive. But it will be interesting to me to see if this one dog dilemma spells doom for her, because I think it well may, and I just can't even imagine her now being a prospective VP pick for Trump, because they would just tear her apart, At least I think that's what would happen. And then we go on to Trump, the infamous Stormy Daniels trial. That continues Monday. I guess they gave the former president a day off last week to campaign, and he went out, did a couple big rallies. And I also heard that they are going to allow President Trump to attend his son's graduation, Barron's graduation, which I had a feeling that they would do that, because to not do it is, it's funny, even the insane, crazy left, they have a few instincts left about maybe when they've a bridge too far. Not many, but I think if they had denied Trump his opportunity to see his son graduate, it's, it may have been just a step too far, a bridge too far. So it'll be interesting this week, because I think the slimy, greasy Michael Cohen goes on the stand this week, and the lurid details are sure to get, more and more graphic as time goes on. And, not to mention, I think it's inevitable that Stormy Daniels goes on the stand, and that is certainly going to be interesting to see. And I understand, although it's not confirmed, but I understand that she's already working on a video. I think it's, hold on. Yeah, Stormy Daniels does the Trump jury. So still in filming, still in production, a little bit early, but I understand that will be coming out. Be pretty interesting, because I think that's 12 people, which might be a record even for her. Pretty sure she was up to like 5 or 6, at one time. So take on a 12-person jury, that's pretty impressive even for her. Old friend of mine, I'm not going to mention his name, but Jim, if you're watching, I wanted to thank him for sending me this. Another fascinating cultural milestone here. Now sold out, Jordan Lucas, Jordan, capital Luca, pea-stained denim jeans are all the hype in fashion. The cheeky pair of jeans was made to cause a riot, according to the London Label. The jean is a commentary on the fetishization, didn't even know that was a word, of capitalist consumerism and is oxymoronic in itself. This is a statement from Jordan Luca, the fashion company that put these out. I'm not sure how it becomes a commentary on fetishness or fetishization of capital consumerism and is oxymoronic. It is certainly moronic. I'm not sure about the oxy part. And because we're so technologically stunted here, or I am, of course, most podcasts, we have video capabilities, but I'm still doing stuff the old-fashioned way, so I'm hoping you can see this. These are the sold-out Jordan Luca pre-pea stained jeans. And I'm just asking myself, if it was me, and again, personal choice, I wouldn't want the same pre-made stain that everyone has. I mean, these are like a big fashion rage, and if the guy next to you has the exact same pea stain, so to me, a real statement would be, I want to do my own pea stain. I want to have my own pea stain. And maybe people could be like, oh, that one looks like a cloud. Oh, look at that one. It almost looks like a bunny. And then there'd be like, I'm 66 years old, so my pea stain would there'd probably be like a major stain and then some droplets, because as most men know, as you get older, tends to be a little kind of ongoing wiggle thing that has to happen after each urination. So yeah, what could say more about America in 2024 than the fact that these are sold out? I was fascinated years ago when they started selling the jeans that had rips and holes and faded for like $125 a piece. And I remember thinking, having been in construction my whole life, I'm like, shit, I have thrown out tens of thousands of dollars worth of jeans over the years that I wore out the old-fashioned way by working, and had no idea that over the past 30 or 40 years, I discarded what could have been my entire retirement portfolio. Because I thought when jeans wore out or got too many holes in them, or particularly holes in the wrong places, that it was time to throw them out and go buy new jeans. But now you can hardly go buy a pair of jeans that just looks new. It's either they're worn out, they've got holes, they're stressed, they got elastic, they're faded, or in this case, they come with pea stains. And again, this is not confirmed. I'll probably follow up on next week's show, but I'm understanding that this fall they're coming out with the, Joe Biden brown jeans. So going to be a little bit different, be an alternative view from this, but really looking forward to that. Supposedly October release date for those. So Jordan Luca, whoever you guys are, thanks so much for helping out with the cultural decline in the country. It wasn't, things weren't going bad enough beforehand. And what could say more about our youth of today and the promise of the future? These are the people that ostensibly will be taking care of me in a memory care unit, probably not too many years down the road. And to say I'm a little nervous might be an understatement, but I got to tell you, if I have time this afternoon, I am going to the outlets and Habib, mask, pea stain jeans, and by September, with any luck at all, you'll see me wearing the brown Biden Levi's. Thanks for joining us at the Carl Zahn Show. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends. And by all means, as hard as it is, keep the wet side up.